one more.
Kindly subscribe and comment where you're watching from. Because tonight's story? It's about a young man who thought running fast enough could outrun fate. But fate runs faster. Jayden Cross wasn't born into crime. He walked into it. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, raised by a father who drove trucks and a mother who stitched uniforms at a local factory, Jayden's childhood was simple. Not perfect, but survivable. But simplicity doesn't feed hunger. And Jayden had the kind of hunger that made sleep feel optional. At school he wasn't a bad kid. Not loud. Not rebellious. A quiet athlete who ran track like he was trying to escape gravity. His coach used to say, "Kid, if you stay focused, you gonna see your name on a college banner one day." Jayden believed him. For a while. Until the day everything changed. It was a Saturday night when Jayden's father got a call about a last-minute delivery. Extra pay. Tight deadline. Dangerous weather. He took it anyway. He never came home. A drunk driver crossed the divider. Crushed his truck. The police described it as instant. There's nothing instant about grief. The funeral drained what little savings the family had. Jayden's mother worked double shifts until her hands shook. Jayden quit track. Quit after-school programs. Quit everything. He got a job at a warehouse unloading shipments. 14 hours a day. 16 on weekends. Heavy boxes, cold nights, low pay. The job wasn't killing him. It was the feeling of living small. Going nowhere. Becoming nobody. That fear dug into him harder than poverty. One night, while stacking boxes behind the loading dock, Jayden overheard a conversation, two workers whispering near the dumpsters. "Man, look at this," one said, flashing a wad of cash. 3 hours of work. That's it. Jayden kept working, pretending not to listen. "You ain't do nothin'," the other snickered. "Just moved a package from point A to point B." Jayden froze. A package. 3 hours. That kind of money. After they walked away, he found himself thinking about his mom at home, passed out on the couch, still wearing her uniform, too tired to eat dinner. What was he doing wrong? Why was he doing everything right, and losing anyway? 2 days later, he approached the older of the two guys, a stocky man named Calvin who always wore a beanie pulled low. "You still doing that thing?" Jayden asked quietly. Calvin squinted at him. "You sure you wanna ask that?" Jayden nodded once. Calvin smirked. "Aight. Come by the back dock after your shift." Alone. That night, Jayden walked out the warehouse doors, and into a different life. Calvin opened the trunk of an old silver Nissan. Inside was a small cooler, nothing unusual. But Jayden felt the tension immediately. "What's in it?" Jayden asked. "Something you don't open," Calvin said. "Something you take from here, to the address I text you. Drop it off. Don't talk. Don't look inside. Don't take too long." Jayden hesitated. Calvin leaned in. "You want money or not?" Jayden swallowed his fear. "I want out," he whispered. Calvin chuckled darkly. "Then this is your first step." Jayden picked up the cooler. It felt heavier than it should have. He made the delivery in 20 minutes. The door cracked open. A pale hand took the cooler. No words. No faces. When Jayden returned, Calvin handed him $800. "For one run," Calvin said. "Easy, right?" Jayden couldn't speak. $800. More than he earned in 2 weeks. "Come back tomorrow," Calvin said. "If you're serious." Jayden didn't even make it home before he decided. He was serious. The rise of a runner. Within 3 months, Jayden became the most reliable courier Calvin had. He never asked questions. He never opened packages. He never missed deadlines. He was fast, and in their world, that was priceless. Soon, he was running for someone above Calvin, the kind of man you didn't look in the eyes too long. Marcus Hale. Late 30s. Expensive suits. Cheap morals. A quiet voice that felt louder than a scream. Cincinnati's underworld wasn't run by bullet-spraying amateurs, it was run by businessmen like Marcus who smiled while they cut your throat. Marcus noticed Jayden early. "Kid moves clean," Marcus told Calvin. "He's hungry. That's the kind we invest in." Invest. Jayden didn't realize that meant he belonged to them now. He only saw the money. He helped his mother pay off bills. Fixed the heat. Repaired the leaking roof. Bought her medication the insurance wouldn't cover. For the first time, life felt possible. Then he made the mistake that changes every rising runner's life. He asked for more. Jayden approached Marcus one night at the warehouse, voice steady but trembling inside. "I don't want to just run packages," Jayden said. "I want to move up." Marcus looked at him for a long moment. "You sure?" Jayden nodded. "That world is different," Marcus warned. "You mess up down here, you lose money. You mess up there, you lose parts of yourself." Jayden squared his shoulders. "I can handle it." Marcus studied him with a look that was both approving and predatory. "All right then," Marcus said. "Let's see what your ambition costs." That's how Jayden entered the deeper circle, the transport crews, the supply chains, the off-book accounting. He wasn't just carrying packages anymore. He was managing product, monitoring drop points, tracking drivers, and coordinating routes designed to avoid police hot zones. Jayden's warehouse job became unnecessary. His income exploded. His world expanded. And so did the risks. There's an unwritten rule in the underworld: the higher you climb, the harder law enforcement falls on you. Jayden didn't see the net tightening. But someone else did. A man named Agent Colton Reeves, a federal narcotics investigator who had been tracking Marcus Hale's operation for almost 2 years. Reeves was meticulous, cold, borderline obsessive. He didn't just want the crew, he wanted Marcus personally. He wanted the man pulling the strings. And Jayden? Jayden had just become one of Marcus's most important strings. Reeves began watching him, quietly, patiently, like a hawk watching a rabbit sprint deeper into the grass. Jayden thought his new life meant freedom. But every move he made was caught on a camera he didn't know existed. One evening, Marcus gathered his top people in a dim back room. Calvin. Jayden. 2 drivers. And Marcus himself. A single light bulb swung overhead. "We got a problem," Marcus said. "There's rumor the feds are building a case. RICO level." Calvin cursed under his breath. Jayden frowned. "RICO?" he repeated. "But that's for big operations." Marcus stared at him. "We are a big operation." Jayden's stomach twisted. Marcus continued, "Until this blows over, we tighten everything. Less movement. Fewer runs. No mistakes." Jayden nodded, but Reeves was already tightening the noose. And the noose had Jayden's name on it. It happened on a Wednesday. A normal day. A routine drop. But routine is the most dangerous kind of blind spot. Jayden was told to deliver a sealed black backpack to a motel on the west side. Drop it at the door. Knock twice. Leave. Simple. He drove his black Impala through the rain. Parked. Walked up to room 19. Placed the bag. Knocked. As he turned to leave, The door creaked open. A young woman stood inside. Barely 20. Terrified. Bruised. She looked at him like a trapped animal. Jayden hesitated. "You okay?" he asked before he could stop himself. Her eyes darted behind her. "Please go," she whispered. Something wasn't right. Jayden stepped closer. Inside the room, he saw a man tied to a chair, gagged, bloody, shaking. That's when everything snapped into focus. This wasn't a drop. This was a setup. For who? For Jayden? For Marcus? Or something bigger? He backed away slowly. And that's when the entire motel exploded with light. Not fire. Flashlights. Voices. Boots hitting pavement. Federal agents. On the ground. Now. Jayden didn't run. He froze. Because in that split second, he understood two things. Marcus had sent him into a trap. He would never walk out of this motel as a free man again. A dozen agents swarmed him. Pressed him to the ground. Cuffed him. Dragged him up. The last thing he saw before being shoved into the transport van was the young woman staring at him with hollow, guilty eyes. She had been the bait. And he had stepped right into the jaws. Jayden sat handcuffed to a metal table, wrists burning. His clothes damp from rain. His heartbeat refusing to slow. Agent Reeves entered the room with a folder in hand. He looked at Jayden like he was dissecting a puzzle. "You're a hard man to catch, Jayden," Reeves said. "But not impossible." Reeves placed the folder on the table. Inside, photos. Jayden delivering packages. Jayden meeting Marcus. Jayden carrying cash. Jayden entering warehouses. Jayden handing off product. Some taken from across the street. Some from a car he didn't know was parked behind him. Some from a drone. "You've been under surveillance for 11 months, Reeves said. 11 months of you running Marcus Hale's operation." Jayden clenched his fists. "I just delivered packages." Reeves smirked. "You delivered a lot more than that. And the bag today? That was product tied to 3 overdose deaths. We only needed one more link to connect you to distribution." Reeves leaned forward. "Thanks for supplying it." Jayden's breath shook. Reeves continued, voice calm but cruel, "You're young. 21. First major offense. You can still walk away with a fair sentence. Maybe even leniency." Jayden stared at him, confused. "What do you want?" he whispered. Reeves tapped the folder. "Marcus Hale." Jayden froze. Reeves' voice dropped into a whisper. "You give me Marcus, and Jayden Cross gets a second chance." A second chance. The words felt like a life raft thrown to a drowning man. But Marcus Hale was not a man you betrayed. Not unless you had a death wish. Jayden swallowed. "I need time to think," he said softly. Reeves smiled. "You have until morning." He stood up. Left the room. Closed the door. Jayden leaned his head against the wall and exhaled shakily. He thought of his mother. He thought of his father's truck. He thought of the young woman in the motel room. He thought of Marcus Hale's warning, "Mess up down here, you lose money. Mess up there, you lose parts of yourself." Jayden had messed up there. And he felt himself unraveling. At 3:17 a.m., the door opened. A guard stepped in. "You got a visitor," he said. Jayden frowned. A visitor? At this hour? He was led down a hallway and into another room. And there, sitting calmly in a chair, was Marcus Hale. Jayden's blood turned to ice. Marcus smiled politely. Jayden, he said softly. Rough night? Jayden couldn't speak. Marcus continued, I have friends everywhere. Even in systems that think they're untouchable. Marcus leaned back. I heard Reeves made you an offer. Jayden's throat tightened. What did you tell him? Marcus asked gently. Nothing, Jayden whispered. Marcus nodded. Good. Because you're loyal. And loyalty, he stood up, is the only thing that keeps you alive. He walked toward Jayden, placed a hand on his shoulder. But let me make something clear, son, he whispered close to his ear. If you ever forget where your loyalty lies, you won't go to prison. He paused. You'll go somewhere worse. Jayden's knees nearly buckled. Marcus squeezed his shoulder once. Then walked out. The door closed behind him. And Jayden finally understood, he wasn't a courier. He wasn't a manager. He wasn't an employee. He was owned. Owned by a man who already anticipated every possible betrayal. Owned by a system that didn't believe in freedom. Owned by choices he couldn't take back. Jayden sat in the silent room, trembling violently. He had until sunrise to decide, betray Marcus and risk dying long before trial. Or protect Marcus and face a prison sentence that would erase his 20s, maybe more. And just like that, Jayden Cross realized there was no version of his life that ended clean. No exit. No quiet retirement. No peace. Only the choice of which hell he preferred. The sun was still below the horizon when Jayden Cross made the decision that would define the rest of his life. He sat alone in the cold, windowless interrogation room, elbows on the metal table, hands tangled in his hair. His heartbeat felt louder than the fluorescent buzzing above his head. Every choice in his life had brought him here. Every shortcut. Every silent delivery. Every night he told himself he was doing it for his mom. But now? There was no justification. No excuses. Just the raw truth, this was the bill. And everything he'd gained had been rented, not bought. The doorknob clicked. Agent Reeves stepped inside again, coffee in hand, eyes sharp but tired. Time's up, Jayden, he said. You ready to talk? Jayden didn't look up at first. His mind drifted back to Marcus Hale's last words, if you ever forget where your loyalty lies, you won't go to prison. You'll go somewhere worse. Marcus had said it softly. Softly was scarier than shouting. Because it meant Marcus wasn't warning him out of anger. He was warning him out of certainty. Jayden finally lifted his head. His voice shook, not from weakness, but from the weight of deciding between two different deaths. I'll talk, he whispered. Agent Reeves froze. For a full second he simply studied Jayden, making sure he'd heard correctly. Then, good, Reeves said, pulling up a chair. Let's begin. Jayden told them everything. Not in one burst, but in pieces, like pulling glass out of his own skin. Dates. Routes. Drop locations. Code phrases. Safe houses. Product amounts. People involved. He didn't mention Marcus directly at first. Reeves let him talk. Let him break. Let him spill everything except the name that mattered. Then Reeves leaned forward. And Marcus Hale, he asked quietly. Jayden felt something twist inside him. He could lie. He could give half-truths. He could stall. But then he pictured the young woman in the motel. The man beaten in the chair. The overdoses Reeves had mentioned. The lives he never meant to tie himself to. He thought of what his father might say if he could see him now. Marcus runs everything, Jayden said, barely above a whisper. Moves product through the docks, warehouses, courier channels. Uses temporary runners. Cuts ties fast. Reeves nodded slowly. And you worked directly under him? Jayden nodded. And you can testify to that? Jayden felt cold. That's the deal, right? He murmured. I talk. I get leniency. Reeves didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply said, "You're doing the right thing." Jayden didn't feel right. He felt terrified. But he kept talking. Kept answering. Kept confessing. And when the recording stopped, Reeves stood and left the room. Jayden sat back in the chair, exhausted, trembling. His life wasn't saved. But it was redirected. And the direction was prison. When Jayden was moved to county jail to wait for arraignment, word spread instantly. Snitch. Fed boy. Talker. Whispered insults followed him through the halls like shadows. Some inmates stared at him with blank expressions, measuring him. Some avoided him altogether. Some smirked like they already knew he wouldn't last long. In places like this, a reputation is formed faster than a fist. Jayden knew better than to defend himself. Snitches always swear they aren't snitches. Denial meant nothing. Truth meant less. The only thing that mattered was what people believed, and Jayden didn't like the way they were looking at him. Still, county jail wasn't where the real danger lurked. The danger was outside. Marcus. Jayden lay awake every night, staring at the concrete ceiling, replaying scenarios. What if Marcus managed to reach him inside? What if Marcus sent someone? What if testifying wasn't even possible because he never made it that far? Every time the door to his unit opened unexpectedly, Jayden's muscles tensed, instinctively preparing for a fight he didn't want but couldn't run from. The first week passed slowly. Too slowly. People in jail move on routines. Jayden tried to build his own, keep his head down, eat, read, avoid confrontation. But routines don't protect you from consequences. 3 days before his scheduled court hearing, consequences found him. It happened during morning movement. Jayden was headed back to his cell after medication line when he felt someone walk up behind him. Not close. Just close enough. "Yo," a voice murmured behind him. "You Jayden Cross?" Jayden didn't answer. Didn't turn. Didn't blink. "Yes or no, bro," the voice repeated, harsher now. Jayden took a tiny breath. "Yes," he said. That was the wrong answer. The man lunged. Jayden barely spun out of the way as a sharp object scraped past his ribs. He grabbed the man's wrist, shoved it upward, causing the makeshift blade to clatter onto the floor. Other inmates instantly stepped away, giving space, not out of concern, but interest. A scuffle was free entertainment. The attacker swung again, fists wild. Jayden blocked, dodged, tried to step back, but he was cornered. A guard yelled. Jayden ducked. The guard tackled the attacker to the floor. More guards rushed in, pinning everyone down, shouting orders. Jayden lay on his stomach, hands behind his back, panting, heart thundering. The attacker looked at him with venom. "You're dead in state, snitch," he hissed. "Ain't nobody gonna save you." Jayden didn't respond. He couldn't. The guards dragged them in opposite directions. Jayden's legs were shaking so hard he almost collapsed when they sat him on the bench outside medical. He stared at the wall. Not because it was interesting, because he didn't trust himself not to fall apart if he blinked. The reality was now carved into his mind: prison wouldn't break him slowly. It would try to kill him quickly. Courtrooms don't smell like justice. They smell like old paper, cheap cologne, and tired people trying to enforce order in a world that refuses to be orderly. Jayden stood before the judge wearing a faded jumpsuit and shackles. His mother sat in the back row, eyes swollen, hands trembling, ignoring the disapproving glares from strangers. She still came. That alone almost broke Jayden. The prosecution laid out their case. Agent Reeves testified. Jayden's lawyer recommended leniency due to cooperation. The judge read through the details slowly, too slowly, before folding his hands. Jayden Cross, he said, the charges against you would normally result in a sentence exceeding 25 years. Jayden's heart sank. His mother gasped quietly. But due to your cooperation with federal authorities, and your willingness to testify in the Hale case, this court is imposing a reduced sentence. Jayden held his breath. 6 years in federal custody. The words hit him harder than a punch. 6 years. Not 25. Not life. Survivable. Maybe. The judge continued speaking, but Jayden barely heard anything else. He just stared at his mother, whose eyes overflowed with tears, not just sadness, but relief. Relief that her son would still be alive long enough to come home someday. Relief that he hadn't completely disappeared into the streets. Relief that she hadn't lost both husband and son to tragedy. Jayden wanted to shout that he was sorry. But the bailiff was already guiding him away. His mother whispered, "Jayden. I'll be here, don't give up," and that was the last thing he heard before the courtroom door closed behind him. Federal prison is not like state prison. It's cleaner. More regulated. Less chaos, on the surface. But the violence is smarter. Quieter. More patient. Jayden arrived at FCI Milan, a medium-security federal facility in Michigan. Not the worst prison in the system, but not safe either. He walked through the gates with a thin blanket, 2 sets of clothes, and a reputation that had already arrived before him. He'd cooperated with the feds. Inside, that reputation was almost a death sentence. The first week, nobody touched him. The second week, nobody talked to him. By the third week, he felt the stares. They weren't judging. They were waiting. Jayden tried to keep to himself, spending most of his time walking laps around the yard alone. But one day, a man approached him, not aggressively, not slowly, but with a calm, steady stride. Tall. Gray beard. Sleeves covered in faded tattoos. He reminded Jayden of a calm wolf, old, experienced, dangerous without trying. "You Jayden Cross," the man said. Jayden stopped walking. His fists clenched subtly. "Yeah," he said cautiously. The older man nodded. "My name's Rothman," he said. "Most people call me Rot." Jayden had heard the name. A lifer. A shot caller. Someone with enough years and enough influence to decide who survived and who didn't. "What do you want?" Jayden asked. Rot shrugged. "Word is, you're on Hale's witness list," he said. Jayden's heart raced. Rot continued, "I don't care about your case. Or your choices. What I care about is whether you want to live long enough to finish your time." Jayden frowned slowly. "What are you saying?" Rot looked around the yard. "You're not built like some of the monsters in here," he said. "But you're not soft, either. You got fight in you. That's good. You'll need it." Jayden remained silent. Rot went on, "There are people in here who owe Hale favors. Owe him loyalty. Owe him blood." Rot met Jayden's eyes. "Those people? They'll come for you eventually." Jayden swallowed hard. Rot leaned in slightly. "But I don't like bullies. Never did. So if you want to stay standing, you stick close to me." Jayden stared at him, stunned. Why help me?" he asked. Rot cracked a faint smile. "Because you remind me of someone," he said. "A kid who got swallowed by a world he didn't understand until it was too late." Jayden hesitated. Trust in prison was expensive. But not trusting anyone was fatal. "All right," Jayden said. "I'll stick close." Rot nodded once. "Good. Then we'll start with some rules. Rot taught Jayden the codes. Rule 1, never look too long at anyone. Gaze means challenge. Rule 2, never sit at a table you weren't invited to. Rule 3, never owe anyone anything you can't repay. Rule 4, never talk about your case unless you're ready to bleed for it. Rule 5, never trust a man who smiles too much, he's hiding a blade. Jayden learned fast. He watched body language. He watched people. He watched for traps. He listened to Rot's stories, some brutal, some wise, all real. But Rot also made him do something harder, confront himself. One night in the cell block, Rot asked him, "You ever think about why you joined Hale's world in the first place?" Jayden shrugged. Money. Survival. Rot shook his head. No. That's what you tell yourself. What's the truth? Jayden didn't answer. Rot stared at him until Jayden felt the truth clawing out of him. I didn't want to be nobody, Jayden whispered. I was tired of watching life happen to me instead of doing something. Rot nodded slowly. Then prison is your reset, he said. You can rebuild a different version of yourself. Or you can keep chasing the same ghost. Jayden closed his eyes. He wanted to rebuild. But rebuilding hurts. And prison is a place where hurting is constant. Jayden was making progress. He stayed out of drama. Worked in the library. Lifted weights in the evenings. But progress doesn't erase consequences. One afternoon, while shelving books, a guard approached him. Cross, he said. Attorney visit. Now. Jayden froze. He wasn't scheduled for anything. His stomach tightened. He followed the guard. They entered the visitation area. He stepped inside. And stopped. Sitting at the table was Marcus Hale's brother. Dressed in a clean button-up shirt. Hands folded. Expression unreadable. Jayden's blood went cold. The guard closed the door. Marcus's brother smiled politely. Jayden, he said softly. Long time. Jayden didn't speak. The man tilted his head. You should relax, he said. I'm not here to hurt you. Jayden didn't believe that for a second. The man leaned forward slightly. My brother, he said, is very disappointed. Jayden swallowed. But, the man added, he also understands that you were pressured. Scared. Young. And scared young men make mistakes. Jayden stared at him, trying to read between every syllable. The man continued, my brother wants you to know something. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly. Jayden nearly jumped, but he pulled out only a folded piece of paper. He placed it on the table. Jayden hesitated. The man nodded at it. Open it. Jayden unfolded the paper. His heart stopped. It was a photo. Of his mother. Walking into her home. Carrying a bag of groceries. Date stamped 3 days ago. Jayden felt like the floor tilted sideways. Marcus's brother spoke calmly, your testimony is scheduled in 6 months. We expect you to forget some things. We expect you to remember others. Your mother's life, he said gently, depends on your memory functioning properly. Jayden felt sick. The man stood. Straightened his shirt. Be smart, Jayden, he said. You're not the enemy. But you can become one. Then he walked out. Jayden sat alone. Shaking. Barely breathing. He thought prison would be the hardest part. He was wrong. The hardest part was knowing danger existed inside and outside the walls. And that he was the only shield his mother had. For weeks, Jayden didn't sleep. He went through every scenario. If he testified honestly, his mother might die. If he lied, Marcus walks free, and Jayden would spend the rest of his life wondering when the next body drops because of him. No matter what he chose. Someone suffered. Rott noticed the change in him. One night in the yard, he said, "You're carrying something heavy enough to break your back. Put it down. Tell me." Jayden hesitated. Then told him everything. The motel. The feds. Marcus. The brother. The photo. Rott listened silently. When Jayden finished, Rott sighed. "You're right," Rott said. "No choice is clean." Jayden stared at the ground. "So what do I do?" Rott looked at him with eyes that had seen far too much life. "You do the thing you can live with," Rott said. "Not the thing that saves you today. The thing you can live with tomorrow." Jayden didn't understand. Not right away. But something in those words stuck. 6 months later, Jayden was transported to Cincinnati under heavy guard. The courtroom was packed. Marcus Hale sat at the defense table, calm, unreadable, immaculate. Jayden took the stand. Raised his hand. Swore to tell the truth. He could lie. He could keep his mother safe. He could walk back into prison with no target on his back. But he remembered Rott's words, "Do the thing you can live with tomorrow." Jayden closed his eyes. Exhaled. And told the truth. All of it. Names. Dates. Operations. Routes. Accounting systems. Financial structures. Violence. Threats. He held nothing back. Every word felt like cutting his own skin open, but he kept going. Marcus never blinked. Never frowned. Never smiled. When Jayden stepped down from the stand, he didn't feel relieved. He felt hollow. But inside that hollow space, something small flickered. Maybe not hope. But honesty. For the first time in years. Marcus Hale was sentenced to 31 years in federal prison. Marcus's brother was indicted 6 months later. Jayden's mother was placed under witness protection relocation, a small town, new address, new routine. Jayden was transferred back to FCI Milan, this time under protective custody status. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't safe. But it was survivable. Rott clapped him on the shoulder the first day he returned. "You did what you can live with," Rott said. Jayden nodded. He didn't feel proud. He didn't feel heroic. He just felt steady. For the first time. Prison didn't suddenly get easier. Jayden still had enemies. Still had nightmares. Still had regrets sharper than knives. But he also had purpose. He started tutoring inmates for GED classes. He worked in the library full-time. He avoided trouble, but didn't run from it when it found him. He wrote letters to his mother every week. He apologized. He explained. He promised. She wrote back, "I don't need perfection. I just don't want to lose my son." Jayden read that line 100 times. Some nights he still cried quietly into his pillow and hated himself for it. But he never broke. Not fully. Jayden Cross served 5 years and 2 months of his 6-year sentence. He walked out through the prison gates on a cold spring morning, wearing donated jeans and a plain gray sweatshirt. Rott wasn't there, he never would be. He was a lifer. But Jayden felt his words echo anyway, "Do the thing you can live with tomorrow." Jayden stepped into the sunlight. A federal van waited for him. New life. New identity. New responsibilities. He wasn't free from his past. No one truly is. But he was free to build something different from it. He closed the door. The van pulled away. And for the first time since he was 16, Jayden Cross wasn't running anymore. He was walking. Forward. The end.